Alright everyone, Supreme Kami over here. So we are going to be doing the alteration review for the P attribute Gundam Barbatos Lupus over here. So we already do have this B attribute up this already. So if you are able to, let's say, pull, like, let's say the head part, for example, if you are able to get the head part for the P attribute and then for the S attribute, you are going to be able to use that S attribute's word tag as well, and you are going to be able to get those link attribute bonuses as well. So you can get yourself up to a 6% just all power boosting and then a 2% damage mitigation as well. So that is how the alternative attribute works. So you're just being able to benefit from a lot of things. So right off the bat, I would just have to say any alternative attribute are just going to be a lot more stronger innately compared to any of the recently, like, quote unquote newer units, for example. So that's that. So in terms of what we are going to be looking at, so we do have 7 parts over here. So I will be listing out a few parts in my opinion that are going to be the best, ranking from like 1, 2, and 3. So if you guys are able to pull them, I guess, you know, alter them immediately, because there's just nothing to say, there's nothing to think about, just alter them because they're just that good. So like we do actually start things off the head. So I actually did a few summon, 3 summon in exact, and I was able to pull one of the best part from the set actually. So the best part for me personally, I will have to say, is definitely going to be the twin Mace over here, because look at the portrait over here. So simply enough, we're just going to be focusing on the portrait. So let me actually just start things off with the melee weapon. So in terms of the melee weapon, we actually do have the sword mace and then a twin mace over here. So this one being one of the better melee weapon to date. This one actually does have a better premium ward tag to be looking at, or the portrait 3xx, so melee power boosted by 40%, and then above EXQ up by a 35%. So this one is definitely very reminiscent to something we have gotten maybe like a few months ago, actually, two months ago actually. That is going to be the double XM riser. So this one is exactly the same, but man, look at the power creep we're getting. So this one is only up to 30% to so double 30%, while the other one is getting 10% more for the general boosting, and then the other 5% to the buff skill effect. So that's why this one is going to be the more powerful one. And if you guys are able to pull this one, definitely alter it. But I would say there are definitely going to be 2 very restrictive things we're looking at. So first and foremost, you do have to be using a pro tag. I think that is good, that's not bad. But the second portrait, you had to be running this one on close combat. So for close combat stuff over here, I don't know, like for me personally, I'm trying to bridge out to use let's say mobile fighter, and for me personally right now, I can't really fit in close combat. So that's why if you are not able to fulfill that requirement, that is not going to be the best case scenario to use this melee weapon. And additionally, if you guys are not using any EX skill that comes with any effects, for example, let's say you're using some general EX skill like this one, for example, you're not going to be able to benefit from the buff EX effects, because simply enough, there's just no effects in this arm right here, so we can't actually kind of get benefit from that. So that is going to be some kind of downside to that, but in terms of the pros, definitely a lot to that. So that is, in my opinion, going to be the best part from the set. Alright, so I think the next best part from the set is definitely going to be the leg part. So let me hop over and talk about the leg part first. So the leg part is going to be one of those 40% traits. So this one is actually going to be a double melee power boosting, so that's kind of good. So in terms of the restriction, again, does want you to be using close combat. So if you're not using close combat, this is definitely not going to be the best leg support for you guys out there. So simply enough, so those can play in this one. So this one is going to be your very generic, you know, ward tag over here, pro tag close combat, so definitely really good. So in terms of like what I worry about in terms of the Lupus over here, or just any of the Barbatos, is like the insane amount of shot defense that it comes with, while not really showing too much in, let's say, melee defense. But in terms of the stat, looks like we're not too far off from like the leaderboard, so that's actually kind of good. So this one being a double 40%, so this one, if you guys are able to pull it, able to, let's say, meet the expectation of using pro or close combat, this is definitely going to be the next weapon or a leg part for you guys to be using for a very long time, I will have to say. So not bad, pretty good armor, and overall melee attack is pretty good. Shot defense is just top the rope, so I don't know what you can actually do with that. So this one is definitely going to be very good for, let's say, I don't know, for let's say shot defense for arena. That is going to be for that one specific week, but that is just, you know, I'm just talking about anyone that is curious about for the arena aspect of it, so that would be good. But yeah, definitely a pretty good leg piece over there. And then up next, I guess I don't know if I would consider this one good actually. So I guess the next one to go off of the list is actually going to be the torso. So I'm pretty much jumping around like all the parts to talk about what our thing are good, and then I'll kind of just talk about all the other one at the end. So this one is going to be another squad cooldown up here. So this one is gonna work solo and squad. Obviously this one is meant for squad because you are able to get a squad cooldown by 19% up here. I don't know why they put the S up here, so it's either a second or percentage. So I don't is there even a 19% seconds? I don't think there's something like that, right? So this one is simply going to be a very good portrait just for your overall squad. So we have been getting a lot of these lately, so you can simply say your main suit doesn't really have to be fully 100% anymore, because you can kind of sneak in a lot of these squad specific cooldown right there, and then you will be able to benefit from that. So that's actually pretty good. You also do get some EXQ, or let's say power or melee power boosting as well. So this part of it I don't really think is that much important, because like the main priority is definitely the first portrait. This one is being like a very good supporting portrait. So regardless of getting an alteration or not, I think it will still be a very versatile one to be using for your just for a cooldown reduction type build. So not bad. So this one does have some pretty insane armor, so that's expected from any nowadays torso. Melee attack is going to be some self-explanatory, 7,500, so that's good. And like I said again, those shot defense is just top the roof again, so not bad. So I think in terms of my ranking, is definitely like the best part from the set is definitely going to be the twin mace, the leg, and then the torso right there. So now let me hop back into the regular part right here. Just I don't think they're necessarily something you would have to alter it on a spot, simply enough because like this one does come up EXQ, so I'm not gonna say this is like the biggest part to like, oh, we got alter this one. So you guys do already know me, I don't really like these awakenable EXQs. Just simply enough, you can just kind of replace them with like an actual EXQ that will pretty much do the same thing for you again. So yeah, this one I would just have to say not really that top priority for alterating. So let's say if you are able to pull this one maybe later down the line with some ultra tickets, for example, or let's say some premium banner ticket, this one I would not even really use it in a way. So yeah, in terms of the overall melee attack, you guys can see that it is not really that high up on top of the list. So that's why I'm like, doesn't really deserve the alteration as compared to any of the other parts that we've seen so far. So that's that. This have some pretty good war tags, so that is definitely something not to kind of sleep on. So okay. Alright, moving on to the arm over here. So the arm on a melee unit having an EXQ is not the best thing scenario. So that is a pretty much bad already. So this have some pretty good like on base, like look at that, 16,000 almost. That is a pretty high for, if you ask me. This one does have some pretty good shot attack and pretty good shot defense, so you can, like, if you want to be crazy about that, you can actually put this on a shot build. I think it works fine, but you definitely don't want to do that because you do have pro tag, which you do have to kind of get rid of. But if you're crazy enough, you can actually make this work, I guess, and then have this like a dual type build because it does have some pretty good like flat out good raw melee attack already. So that's that. But in terms of alteration, I don't see too much of a potential for this one over here. Simply enough, this one does have an EX skill, so regardless of alterating or not, this one should do some pretty good damage. But obviously with a proper alteration, you would do a little bit more, so that's that. But definitely not like the top roster, like, oh, I gotta alterate this arm right here. Alright, last but not least, or not almost, to second to the last. So this one, we have the exact same EX skill. We have the Wolfhound over here. So this one is a Howl over here, excuse me. So this one is going to be a, whoops, the backpack over here. So this one is going to be another EX skill base over here. So this one is exactly the same as we seen from the original. So this one is going to be giving you a speed increase to your squad, or 20%. Okay, that's good. And then melee power boosted to your squad by 39%, so that's good. And then a little bit of some sprinkle on top, melee defense by 19% to your squad as well, so that's pretty good actually. But I would say I think for any custom EX skill, a proper alteration would definitely gives it like a good S power, depending on what kind of scenario you're looking at. Simply, I think most of them does come up with S power, and then depending on some rare situation, they can be flip around, having like a good, like really good S piercing, and then like an A power. So those are like a very niche items, but these, I would say, regardless of any cutscene, I think just any cutscene should be able to one-shot your enemy regardless. So let's say if you guys are able to pull it within like right after this banner ends, wherever, being able to pull it in like a premium tickets, I think it should still hit pretty hard, like regardless of you like, you know, just having the S power. But I think this one is pretty good, you know, depending on what you guys are looking at. This is a pretty good armor, you gotta say that. Some pretty good shot defense again, some pretty good overall melee attack. Just defensive with melee, it's just not. I wish it could be a little bit higher, so if it was a little bit higher, it would definitely be a little bit more up toward on the stat that we're looking at. So that's that. Simply, I will not really say this one is like a top priority, but if you peel it at EX skill, I guess go ahead and alterate it to enjoy the sheer amount of S power, I guess. Good work as well, so no complaints on that. Alright, so last but not least, we do have the sword Mace over here. So this one is going to be a double melee cut over here. So I did not actually pull it, so originally I was planning to see if I can pull it. So this one, although it says like a melee cut, so like we all first thought like, oh, this one is actually going to be cutting, let's say like an anti-enemy reduction type build. But I have done testing once again, so in terms of what I did again, so I simply racked up 3 portrait that has those cuts effects over here. So I had one that is going to mimic a enemy cut, and then another enemy cut, and then I have one that is going for a EX skill cut. So in my finding, once again, so this one is going to be treated as like an actual power boosting, because what I did for my actual setup, my enemy for that dummy testing, I did not have any portrait, so simply there's nothing to cut, right? So if there's nothing to cut, how am I still able to generate more power? So so I'm just gonna conclude that this is actually just gonna be another sneaky way of just like, oh, power boosting, because like there's no way, like if my enemy, if like the test dummy doesn't have any portrait that is like a reduction type, there's no way I'm able to benefit, right? So I'm just gonna say that is gonna be an actual you know, just general power boosting for your melee. So in this one, in this scenario, this one is simply going to be a 35 to a 30 to a 35% melee power boosting from what I have tested out. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you guys do have any like, you know, like knowledge on this one, you guys can definitely let me know that in the comment section below. But this one is actually kind of not that good, because you are limited to only using physical attacking. So it's just any like physical EX skill that's only going to be able to benefit from that. So any of your beam attacks not going to work. So XP restriction, this one is actually not that bad. Like you see some that is 90%, 80%, those are pretty bad. If you take, let's say, one hit or something like that, you can pretty much kind of like drop below that threshold, which is not going to be that good. But overall, this is not going to be anywhere comparable to, let's say, the actual twin swings over here. So with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it in terms of the P attribute Gundam Barbatos Lupus over here. So do let me know, how do you guys feel about this alternate attribute? Do you guys like it, dislike it? So you guys can definitely let me know that in the comment section below, and then I'll catch you guys all on the next one.